Happy Kerbaling!
Happy Kerbaling! Woo!
Woo! We did it! We did another one!
Alright, before I hit stop recording, is there anything that we need to go back and re-record?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's gonna be a fairly short one this week, though.
Yeah, we've got... did you stop your recording, by the way?
No, I tend to not stop in case you say something... Oh, have you stopped?
No, I haven't stopped mine.
No, I tend to not stop recording until we go, in case you say something stupid.
Thanks. I appreciate your confidence in me. Audacity says we've been going for 2 hours and 5 minutes, and some of that is cuts.
Yeah, so I reckon it'll be over an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 3/4.
Yeah, somewhere around an hour and 45. See, that's another thing. An hour and 3/4, or that's a British thing. In America, we say an hour and 45 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because that would seem really weird if... I wouldn't have thought it, but hearing it sounds weird to me. Just, yeah, it's really interesting.
The only American English way that has quarters thrown in that I'm aware of is that sometimes people will say, what time is it? It's 4:45.
Yeah, we say 4:45 as well.
But, I mean, that's like the only, 4:45 whatever hour is the only time I've ever heard anyone say quarter. Like, if it's 15 minutes after the hour. Nope. If it's 15 minutes past the hour, you'd say 4:15.
Ah, that's really interesting. We'd say 4:15 whatever. Hey, didn't you promise me a psychological evaluation at some point on Twitter? I seem to remember. I forgot.
For who, you?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. You threatened it, and I was like, "Come on, then."
I don't remember that, honestly, but
I do.
do a
it's on my
psych
Twitter.
eval.
No, it was after you did Rodney. I was like, I think Jared should do one for me. Actually, I'm not sure. And then you were like, oh, no. And I was like, oh, yes. But
I mean, I can do one.
No. It was joking.
Oh. I was going to say, I mean, I can just go on my my Dropbox, pull off the kind of the same form that I sent for Jim and Zip, and have you answer the questions, and then I can do a basic psychological write-up on you. If you want to go deeper, I can send you some actual tests, like personality tests and all of that jazz. And
nah.
I mean, we can go all the way. I'll do all of this for free. Normally, a psych eval costs...
What is a psych eval for, anyway? I'm just curious.
Different things. For example, certain jobs require psych evaluations, like dangerous jobs and things like that.
Really?
You have to be measured for how stable a person you are. NASA does psych evaluations on everybody.
Well, NASA I can understand, yeah.
Psych evaluations are also a lot of times court-ordered. For example, if there's a divorce case with children involved, the partner who might have been accused of child abuse or whatever, but there's no proof, either way, they will be ordered to do a psych evaluation in order to attempt to determine whether or not the person is an abuser.
That's really interesting. I think therapy and psychologists and all that, I think that's a lot bigger in America, isn't it? I mean, I remember reading something like most people in America have seen or see a therapist or a psychologist at some point. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
Oh,
but you are correct. You are correct in saying, though, that therapy is much bigger in the United States than it is anywhere in the world. I think that therapy is the only medically related field that the United States leads anymore. I could be wrong on that, but I do know that we have something like 90% of all psychological research is done in the United States.
Why is therapy so much bigger over there? I'm just purely curious.
To be honest, nobody really knows. We've got guesses. Like, we've got a bunch of guesses coming from all over the place, but kind of the general idea is that Americans... when compared to the rest of the world, don't have as much of a problem talking about their problems. And so therapy just took off here.
I imagine it would be really good to have like a heart-to-heart with like a therapist or something.
I mean, it's really good. I see my own therapist.
You have a therapist too?
Yeah, I have a therapist.
Wow.
I go see him once a month or so. Because I have what's called supervision. So I have my caseload and all of my clients, and then I go see I'm doing air quotes, supervisor. He's not like a direct supervisor.
Right. I was completely lost for a second then. You said supervision, and for my brain just went, what, is he like Superman? Can he see through walls? I don't know why. I just had a brain fart for a minute.
That would be awesome. I wish I could see through walls.
Anyway, sorry.
So I go and see. I'm not sure why they call them supervisors, but he's someone that I share my all of my case details with, and bounce ideas off of him for dealing with difficult clients and that sort of thing. But then I have my own therapist that I go see once a month to deal with the other stuff, because even though I'm trained to deal with it, there are certain clients and certain cases that are way more heavily on me than others, and so it's good to have someone to go talk to, and I don't want to burden my wife with that, and plus there are certain legal restrictions to me talking to people that are not in my profession.
Yeah. Oh, does that extend to your wife as well, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's called the Confidentiality Act, at least in the United States, and it is illegal for me to talk to anyone, including my wife, my children, my best friend, whatever, about my cases, and reveal any sort of detail.
Yeah, we have something similar here. I don't know what it's called because I'm not in the profession, but I know we do have something similar here.
So I can talk to anybody about my cases as long as I don't reveal too many details, and it's kind of a fine line you have to walk there on what is and what isn't too many details.
That's interesting, because I don't think in this country I've ever met anyone who's seen a therapist.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I saw a psychiatrist, but that's not the same thing because I wasn't really talking to people. I was just kind of getting treatment for stuff. But I don't know anyone who's actually seen a therapist.
Yeah, psychiatrists are very different. They used to be.
Oh no, I know they're different.
Similar.
But I'm just saying.
They used to be much more similar.
I've ever come. Anyway, that was very interesting. Sorry, I'm fascinated by psychology and all that, so that I get personally interested, and that's why I was curious.
No, it's fine.
And now visible, that's the thing that gets sucked into TV and public opinion and everything. It's not all like that, as you will know.
No. Yeah.
But no, I've never seen a therapist, which is I should go to a therapist just to have I have nothing really bothering me. I should go to a therapist just to have a heart to heart, because sounds like a good
really
to have
good
a chat.
To go to therapy. Like, even if you don't have any, what you would call psychological issues, it's really good to go talk to someone about things. It's just someone you can share with who has no other stake in your life, so you don't have to worry about what you say, you don't have to have your filter, that sort of thing.
I'm starting to see the appeal just for that, just to chat about life.
To be honest, that's what most people that come to therapy that aren't having real problems come for. Probably half of my clients are just people who want to have that avenue to go talk about things. And
so what do you do then?
Process.
If they don't particularly have problems, I can't imagine you can give them advice if they're not having problems. What, do you just listen, or do you get involved in the questions, or what?
It depends. Everybody's different. I try to make sure that I'm a part of the conversation. For some people, that's asking questions. For some people, that's sharing aspects of my own life, or discussing situations. Occasionally there's some advice giving, but that's not the biggest part of therapy anyways. If you are constantly giving advice as a therapist, you're doing your job wrong. But
so you get that stereotype, don't you, where you see on like sitcoms and things where there's a psychologist and they're just going and doodling on their notepad.
I don't actually take notes during session. I record most of my sessions. I ask permission first, but I record them, and then I go back and listen to them and make notes off of that, because I find it very distracting to try and take notes during therapy.
I hope you don't mind me asking you about all this stuff, by the way.
No, it's fine.
I'm
very open about it. I talk to just about everybody in the Kerbalcast community about it. But, so, yeah, those kind of people, you just kind of have to work with them and figure out the best way to help facilitate them sharing that stuff with you and working out their life. I have very few clients where really they just want to be heard.
Do you ever get that, though, who just want to talk just want to be heard.
Yeah, a few. Although, actually, the people who mostly just want to be heard have got psychological issues that we eventually get to working on. A lot of times, if someone just wants to be heard, that means that in their life, maybe with their spouse or their friends or their parents, they never feel like they are heard. So you get through the first few sessions of, please just listen to me tell you about my life story, to, at the end of that, you're going, okay, so you have all of these thoughts and feelings that you want to get out. You want to make sure you're heard. Do you want to talk perhaps more about why you feel like you're never heard?
Can I ask you a weird question?
You've never stopped before, so yeah.
As you're a psychologist, I'm really curious, and based on what you just said, do you ever talk to someone and not think that they've got a psychological condition that they weren't aware of? Because there's another stereotype that, you'll go to see a psychologist and you'll be fine, and you'll come back and you'll have a condition you didn't know you had,
Yeah, it's...
Do you think there's much, trying to assign conditions to people? Again, this is just pure curiosity. This isn't meant as, offensive or anything.
The way I see it is that everyone has got problems. If you come into a therapy office, I'm going to see the problem areas in your life. I'm not necessarily going to assign you as a condition like, depressed or
okay. Well, I didn't
anxious
mean
or anything like that.
I didn't mean condition like that. I just, problems.
Yeah. Okay, so everyone who comes into my office, they have problems in their life that I'm going to see. The example that I used, someone who constantly feels like they're never heard, is a strong enough problem that I would point it out. If someone's just got like a little personality niggle or, something that's not too major, I would never say anything about it because, that's perpetrating that stereotype. Like, oh, I went to a therapy office just to get something off my chest, and I come home and suddenly, I have to go back for, 20 sessions to fix this area of my life. It's very much a case-by-case basis, and therapy is very much an art. I mean, true, there's a lot of science involved, but the actual doing therapy part is very much like a dance, There's a leader and a follower in the session between you and your client, and you have to swap positions and figure out when to take over and when to let them go. And
do you think do you think everybody has problems, or do you think everybody who goes to therapy has problems because otherwise they wouldn't have gone to look for therapy?
Everybody has problems in their life. Everybody has got something that will make them feel really bad for reasons they can't explain, or really anxious for reasons they can't explain. I've got them. I'm sure you've got them.
Yeah.
But the question is that a big enough problem that you need to go see a therapist for several sessions to work on it? Or is it just good every once in a while to go get those feelings out and get them off of your chest,
So if therapy's so common over there, is it really, really expensive? Or is it like a high-end thing that only, well-paid people can afford to go and do? I don't know what the thing is over there.
Therapy really ranges. It depends on what area you're in. For example, where I live, kind of in a small town out in the middle of nowhere, the therapists that are here usually charge $35 to $50 a session.
Really? Is that all? I imagine therapy was like £100 an hour or something.
No, that again is another one of those running stereotypes. Now, if you do live in, say, California or New York or really high population, big city area, there are therapists who get up in that price range, sometimes even more. But the thing is that the therapists that are so expensive are usually the ones who have written books or have been on TV or something like that. So not only are they getting the regular therapy rate for their area, which in New York you're probably going to pay $80 to $120 a session for a standard session. But so you're getting that, plus, I wrote a successful New York Times bestseller, so I'm going to charge an extra $100 a session just because I can. My rate, I'm not a private practice, so my rate is set by my office. I think I've said this before. I am in the counseling office at a school, the office is open to the public, but most of our clients come from the student body during the school year. So the going rate for students is $10 a session.
Right. Well, it makes sense for students because students never have any money in any country.
Yeah. And then in special cases, they don't have to pay anything. But like if you just want to come see a therapist for a few sessions, it's $10 a session. And then to the general public, we charge $35 a session.
That's a lot cheaper than I ever thought therapy was.
Yeah, very affordable therapy. And insurances in the United States are finally starting to cover therapy that isn't doctor or court ordered. A lot of insurance companies now are giving people, 10 sessions of therapy for anything.
So that's really, really interesting. I've seen health insurance in the US mentioned on like TV and stuff. I find it really complicated to understand.
Health insurance in the United States is stupid.
Is it something like you've got to have and then every time you go to hospital you have to claim it back? Or how does... I mean... And what if you don't have health insurance and you get run over by a car? Do they not treat you because you don't have health insurance?
Alright, so if you don't have health insurance in the United States and something bad happens to you and you go to a hospital, hospitals are required to treat you. Like, it's against the law to not treat somebody. So they will treat you, and then you'll get a bill for, depending on what's wrong with you, anywhere from $1,000 to $1 million. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, if you get hit by a car, and it knocks you out, and you go to the hospital, oh, he's fine, he's just got a mild concussion, but he doesn't have insurance, probably $1,000.
But the average person surely can't afford all that.
No, they can't. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but I do believe that health insurance has been corrupted to such an extent by insurance companies to force people to pay for all this needless medical expense.
Right.
Like, I'm a huge fan of a federalized health system like what you guys have over there. But it's like you go to the hospital, you pay, I don't know, $20-$30.
They're talking about privatizing it, so...
Don't fight it. You fight that shit. Privatized health insurance is the worst.
Because you can get health insurance here, but it's entirely optional. Basically, the only benefits you get is they give you more more cutting edge, more expensive drugs, and they might give you a private room in a hospital instead of a ward. But it's really, really optional over here. You don't have to pay anything. You just every time you get a paycheck, they take off like 1% of it, as they call it, national insurance. And then if you don't have a job, you don't pay it. And if you do, they take off like 1%, and then you get all healthcare for free. Right.
So in my example, get hit by a car, but you're fine. If you have health insurance, there's no telling how much you're paying for that, to be honest. Like some insurances, if you have to wind up in an emergency room, they charge you a flat fee of like, I don't know, $100. Then that's all you pay for your emergency room visit. Some insurances are a lot worse than that, and they make you pay the whole thing up front, and then you get reimbursed for a percentage of it when you claim it. It's really, really stupid. And on top of that, you pay for this every month. Either if it's provided by an employer, it comes straight out of your check, or if you have personal insurance, you pay for it yourself every month. It's awful.
Well, if rumors
Obamacare,
to be believed, we might be our government, who everyone's against it, but it sounds like we might be joining your system and completely privatizing everything, because apparently it's too much of a drain on the public purse or something.
Avoid that as much. You fight it. If you lose, you just deal with it and do what you can. We've been dealing with it for years, but you fight it tooth and nail.
Oh, everyone
It's just a ridiculous wasted expense. Like, especially for someone like me who's really young, I've been to the doctor one time in the last 3 years. Like, I don't get sick. I sit at a desk all the time, so I don't do a job that's strenuous, but I still am required by law to have insurance, pay for it every month.
Oh, it's by law you have to have it.
By law, you have to have insurance.
Oh, wow.
If you don't have insurance and you wind up, at a hospital or whatever, typically it's like if it's a first offense, you just get, yelled at by a judge or somebody. But if you perpetually don't have insurance, you can wind up paying huge fines, which obviously you can't afford.
Wow.
And then eventually go to jail because you can't pay your fines.
Well, so you have to pay like every time you see a doctor. Do you have like GPs or anything?
What are GPs?
General practitioners.
Oh,
They
okay.
don't work in hospitals. They just have like clinics. There's tons of
Yeah.
them. You like register at your local one, and then say you get you've got an earache or a stomach ache. You make an appointment with your GP. You go see them the next day. They'll give you a prescription for some painkillers.
Yeah.
So you see them like all the time. Whenever you've got something, you go, oh, I've got something weird on my stomach. Is this okay or is this normal? They'll look at it and say, oh, there's nothing wrong with that, and then you go. If you did anything like that, would you have to pay every time you went to see the GP?
You do have to pay every time you go.
Wow.
Unless you have an insurance plan that covers it. There are certain insurance plans that give you so many. They're just called doctor's offices here in the United States.
Oh right, okay, doctor's office.
But there are certain insurance plans that will give you like, I don't know, each person on your plan 2 doctor's visits a year that you don't have to pay for.
No
and then
offense,
after
but
that,
I
you
would
have to pay
hate
for every
that.
trip.
If I get worried about like a little a bump on my skin, or like anything, a weird rash, I'll just make an appointment the next day, go see the doctor. Is this anything to worry about? Nope. Okay, bye. I would hate not having that, the security of knowing that if I'm worried about anything, I can go and just make an appointment.
There have been studies done on this in the United States, and our insurance practices promote unhealthiness because, like somebody gets a rash and it's like, either, well, I've only got 2 doctor's visits this year, I should probably save them for something that I know is bad. Or it's like, well, if I want to go to the doctor, I've still got to pay $50 and he might tell me it's nothing anyways.
Wow. Although I will say therapy, I think here is mostly private. Because unless the GP, the doctor's office, because they just do general things, and if it's anything beyond that, they'll send you to a specialist at the hospital or wherever. But unless they think you might have depression or some kind of psychological condition, they won't refer you to a therapist. And if they don't refer you to a therapist, the government won't pay for it. And so you have to go private. Because we have private stuff here. It's basically you go see private for anything you either want better than what's for free or anything that the government won't pay for. And I think therapy, unless they think you have depression, bipolar, etc., I think is 99% of the time private here, which may be why it's less used. I don't know.
Yeah, therapy in the United States is split. Probably 60% of therapy offices are privately ran. There's government-sponsored therapy offices, and then a lot of therapy offices will accept like Medicare, which is our government provided insurance.
Right.
They will accept that as a form of payment, and then people don't have to pay at all. So honestly, it's probably about 50-50, 50% people who don't accept
So if you're unemployed
Medicare.
And you don't have health insurance, is that what Medicare's for people who can't afford normal insurance?
Right, but you still have to pay for Medicare. It's just a lot cheaper.
How do you pay for it if you don't have a job?
Oh, I thought you said if you have a job, but you can't.
Oh, no,
afford.
if you're unemployed, I meant.
Oh, yeah, if you're unemployed, then you don't have to pay for Medicare, but you can only use Medicare for a certain amount of time. I'm not sure how long it is. For a while, my wife and I had Medicare because where I worked, they didn't offer insurance. And until I got my license and started working full-time, we couldn't afford private health insurance.
Right.
So we got Medicare. But because I worked, I paid... It was really cheap. I think we paid $50 a month, which might sound crazy to you because you don't have to pay for it at all.
No, that I was looking at possibly getting health insurance a couple of months ago, and it came. The average quote was around that, so it sounds like it's about the same price here and there.
Yeah, we paid $50 a month, and Medicare insurance is actually very good. It doesn't cover a lot of specialty work unless it's like deemed medically necessary. And it doesn't cover like top-end prescriptions and stuff. But I mean, honestly, generic prescriptions are identical to named prescriptions, and so it was a pretty good deal. I wish that we could still keep it, but we're out of the income bracket now for Medicare. Thankfully, I have insurance through work now, but it's not great. I mean, it's better than nothing.
That's really, really interesting.
Our healthcare system is so screwed up. And like just to the north of us, Canada, with nationalized healthcare, all staying healthy all the time doesn't cost them anything except a little bit on their taxes.
Yeah, it's same here, but there's always calls to Well, the government's always saying, "Oh, we're overspending. We want to cut." Well, not both parties, but one party's always basically the party that's in. We have like 3 or 4 main parties. The one that's in at the moment is the one that wants to privatize everything, get rid of the National Health Service, get rid of everything, privatize everything. And the one that lost the last one is the one that defended NHS, etc., etc. And yeah.
You fight that privatized healthcare tooth and nail. You fight it.
Yeah.
It's nothing but bad.
I don't think it'll actually... Well, it might partially happen. It'll never completely happen because the whole country would be up in arms.
I don't think it'll happen with us, but I'm really hoping that Bernie Sanders gets elected and can actually change from a privatized healthcare system to a public healthcare system.
What was that Obamacare thing I read about? Wasn't that some sort of nationalized health service?
Sort of. It's kind of in between. It's a lot cheaper than having to get your own private medical insurance, and it's a little bit better than Medicare, but it costs a little bit more than Medicare.
Right, so you still have to pay for it.
Yeah, you still have to pay for it.
I mean, you have to pay for our NHS as well, but I mean, is it like comparable to normal insurance?
Yeah. I believe that they had a whole bunch of different plans you can get. It was really confusing because they made it seem like at first it was going to be like, if you can't afford insurance but you make too much money for Medicare, this is the insurance that you can get. But there's different plans of it. Kind of the basic plan that was about $100 a month for people was like a better version of Medicare. You could go to a few more private care facilities and stuff like that with it. And it functioned exactly the same. Like, you didn't have to pay for it outside of your monthly fee. The insurance covered everything, that sort of stuff. And it's kind of a stopgap, it's still a bit like a private insurance company works.
Okay.
But it's less expensive, and it's government sponsored.
Anyway, sorry for going on about all that. I just found it really, really, really interesting because I never knew any of this.
No, it's fine. I'll talk to you all day about American politics. I like your political system better. You might hate your politics, but having multiple parties is way better than having 2 parties. Just the Democrats and the Republicans.
Except you get to like a general election and there's like 20 parties on there you can vote for, and I've never heard of half of them.
I'd be okay with that. I mean, basically every election, like in the United States, it doesn't matter. You get down to the last few months before the election when they finally announce, okay, this candidate is running for the Democratic Party and this candidate is running for the Republican Party. Because we don't get any say in that, the general public. We don't get to decide who is going to represent us. That's decided by the Electoral College and the regional political elections. So you don't have any say in who your candidate is until the actual presidential election.
We don't have a say in who leads each party, but we do have a say in what party runs each part of the country, and then we have a say in that's it. We'd have a say in who wins our part of the country, and then whoever wins the most parts of the country gets more seats in Parliament, and whoever has the most seats in Parliament wins the election. As long as they've got more... It's really complicated. As long as they've got more than a certain amount of percentage difference, which didn't happen last time, which is why 2 parties had to join together to form a coalition so that they could actually form a government, because the other party didn't have a big enough lead to be legally allowed to win the election. They did try to change it so to first person, past 50% wins it, but that got voted down in a referendum. But it's always going to be, in this country, you have loads of parties, but 9 times out of 10, it's always going to be one of 2 parties. Occasionally 3. There's a big 4 at the moment, but the bottom 2 don't really want to win it. They run to get more seats in the Parliament, so they have more votes on each law, etc. They're never going to realistically win it.
The United States has the Green Party.
We have a Green Party.
Democrats.
They've got really popular recently. I think they're like 3rd or 4th most popular now. And we had our Nazis as well. They got scared. They came in, I think, 4th or 5th in the last general election, which was really, really scary.
Yeah. Wait, did you say Nazi?
Yeah, they won our European election. So currently, our equivalent to the Nazi Party currently represents us in Europe.
Damn.
I know, it sucks.
Yeah, our Green Party, I think, won their first federal election, there's some state now that has some Green Party members in Congress, which was a huge deal for them. I mean, they've been fighting for years and years and years to get much higher than the local political level. And they're good. 3 parties would be good. I don't particularly like the Green Party, but I like them better than the Republicans. And it would just be nice to have some more competition for the main vote.
No, I can see that.
Because, I mean, it's like, with a 2-party system, it comes down to, well, who's the lesser of 2 evils? Because you get no choice. I mean, in most issues, I line up more on the progressive camp, which tends to be Democrats in the United States. But even that, we're pretty conservative compared to the rest of the world, even our liberal Democrats.
You have a liberal Democrat Party. We have a liberal Democrat Party. They're one of our other 3 big ones.
Yeah. Its politics are complicated.
Yeah, I don't like them.
Needlessly so.
I agree.
I think that in the modern era, we should just have a full-out popular vote to determine who the political people are. Because I know in the United States, local elections are decided by popular vote. But once you get to the federal level, it's decided by the Electoral College, which traditionally they vote in line with their state's popularity vote, but they don't have to. And so your state could vote 100% for one political candidate, but if the people in the Electoral College that don't represent, if the people in Electoral College for your state don't like that party, they can vote against the vote of the state.
So it's really interesting because it's very different here because we just everything is the public vote, but it kind of stops there. I don't know if it's going to change if we leave Europe, but for the moment it's like that anyway. I haven't quite decided whether I don't usually vote because I don't like politics, but for the referendum on do we leave Europe, I think I'm actually going to come out and actually vote because it feels big enough that I should probably have a say.
When you say Europe, do you mean the EU? Or...
Yeah, sorry. We in
Okay.
this country we call it leaving Europe, or the EU is Europe, or interchangeable.
Okay, I gotcha. I was gonna say you can't actually leave
Not
Europe
physically. We're not gonna up and move halfway around the world.
You're gonna put a bunch of rockets on the bottom of your continent or of your island there and lift it up and move it somewhere else.
So long, we're moving.
Come hang out next to us. Although I'm not sure if you'd want to.
Yeah. Hey, America, how you doing? We're your new neighbor. No, I'll probably vote for that. I don't know how I'll vote, but I'll probably vote for that. Right. Anyway, I'm gonna go and get some dinner because it's like 9:10 here. So.
Yeah, it's 5:10.
Thank you for putting up with an hour of my random quizzing you on random stuff that doesn't matter.
No, it's fine. I love it. I love talking about that stuff. I don't have very many people in my life that I can genuinely talk to about big, complicated subjects.
Well,
So
anytime you want to chat about psychology or, anything like that, let me know, because I love chatting about this stuff, and if it wasn't so late, I would probably keep going, but the fact that we've already been talking for 2.5 hours, I don't want to take up any more of your time. But no, psychology interests me, and people interest me, and it's just a whole, I want to talk about this kind of thing. Okay, so send me your MP3, and I will put it together when I have energy in the next couple of days, because I'm on holiday.
Okay. Did you ever stop recording? Because my recording's still going.
Oh god, no, I forgot. It's just, Audacity's minimized, so I didn't even think.